Frequent travelers down Highway 109 in St. Louis County might be shocked to learn that a sprawling historic estate sits just off the road out of sight. The grand home was completed in 1905 as a summer home for wealthy businessman Peyton Carr and was originally known as Woodcliff. Clad with wood shingles and limestone, the home sprawled over 10,000 square feet and contained 7 bedrooms and multiple sleeping porches. The 130-acre estate featured a rose garden, pergola, tea house, and tennis courts. In 1944, following the death of her husband, Mrs. Carr sold the estate to the Brewers and Maltsters Benevolent Association. It was again sold in 1950, this time to the Society of Mary, who gave it the name Marycliff. The building was expanded to add an additional 17 bedrooms, the expansion bringing the living space up to 12,630 square feet. Marycliff was actively in use by the Marianists as a conference and retreat center for many decades. Priests and Brothers of the Society of Mary resided in Marycliff until 2016, when they were relocated to other Society of Mary residences. Since then, the building has sat vacant. In 2017 and 2018, a study was undertaken to determine the feasibility of rehabilitating the structure for an extended use as a family retreat center. Plans were developed and funds raised toward a $2.5 million budget. However, after the pandemic struck in 2020, plans for the Marycliff Family Lodge were discontinued, and in March 2024, the Marianist Province of the United States submitted an application to the City of Wildwood to demolish Marycliff. The Wildwood Historic Preservation Commission made a site visit shortly after the application was submitted and was shocked to discover that preliminary demolition was already underway, including removal of the radiators, some interior paneling, flooring, as well as some artwork whose removal damaged brickwork on one of the primary living room fireplaces. While the City of Wildwood has denied the demolition application and the demolition appears to be on hold for now, the future of this historic site is not yet secure. Without the funds to complete their plans and unwilling to sell due to the value and beauty of the location, the Marianists see demolition as their only option. By listing Marycliff as a place in peril, nominators hope that the Marianists will be encouraged to seek alternative options for the future reuse of this historic building. The historic buildings across the Jeff-Vander-Lou neighborhood in St. Louis City date to the late 19th century, but the name which we know the area by was not coined until 1966 with the creation of Jeff-Vander-Lou, Inc. Founded by housing activist and community developer Mr. Mackler C. Shepard, Jeff-Vander-Lou, Inc. had a goal of acquiring and rehabilitating homes across the neighborhood to improve the affordability and living conditions for homeowners and renters. By the end of World War II, the neighborhood, which was one of the first areas where African Americans could own real estate, was considered blighted. Between 1968 and 1978, JVL acquired and rehabilitated dozens of buildings, usually few at a time. These buildings continued to provide quality, affordable housing, even as others around them were abandoned and left to deteriorate. In 2000, the St. Louis Equity Fund created JVL Renaissance, Inc. and breathed a third life into the structures across 2 phases, JVL Renaissance 1 and JVL Renaissance 2 in 2004. The buildings were again sold in 2020 to Hudson and McKee Real Estate, also operating as H&M2 LLC, who proposed a renovation to keep the housing affordable. However, it was not long after the sale that many of the buildings were vacated and the first floors boarded up with green plywood. Deferred maintenance and abandonment caused these buildings to deteriorate rapidly in a short amount of time. Many have visible holes in the roofs, a few have experienced partial collapse of masonry walls, and at least one has suffered a fire. Only a small portion of historic buildings in this section of the neighborhood are under private ownership, and a few others are held by the Land Reutilization Authority of St. Louis. The loss of these green-boarded buildings would result in almost a total loss of original structures in this portion of the Jeff-Vander-Lou neighborhood. Many of the buildings south of Cass Avenue also feature limestone facades and Second Empire-style influences, and arguably make up the largest existing concentration of this building style in St. Louis outside of Lafayette Square. Beyond their architectural value, these buildings represent the legacy of Jeff-Vander-Lou, Inc. and the resiliency of the neighborhood in spite of white flight, redlining, and disinvestment in the 1960s and 70s. It is hoped that listing the JVL Greenboard properties as a place in peril will shine a light on the neglect and hopefully catch the attention of a developer who is willing to purchase the structures and follow through with rehabilitation for affordable housing. In 1887, the Henry County Bank Building on the northwest corner of the Courthouse Square in Clinton was opened. It was designed to be a handsome new building that would be a lasting ornament to Henry County. Unfortunately, the Henry County Bank and other financial institutions housed in the building failed. Over the years, it housed the U.S. Post Office and was last occupied by Dunning Furniture, which closed in the 1980s. In 1994, Tracy Delozier purchased the building and donated it to the Henry County Historical Society in memory of his late wife, Juanita Delozier. The building was renamed the Delozier Building in her honor. 5 years after acquiring the building, the Historical Society began the rehabilitation work. Work on portions of the building were completed as time and fundraising dollars allowed. The east and west ballrooms were among the first finished and are available for public rental as a way to raise funds for the Historical Society's museum, continued work on the Delozier Building, and funds for the maintenance of the 4 other historic buildings owned by the Henry County Historical Society. In spite of the goals of the Historical Society board and volunteers, maintenance is often deferred until the funding and the craftsmen with the skills to do things correctly are available. The rock foundation of the Delozier Building is compromised, and deteriorating mortar leaves piles of dust on the floor. The second floor and basement are severely compromised and are only accessed rarely and with extreme caution. The Historical Society hopes these spaces can one day be used for storage and administrative space. Without new funding sources and preservation expertise to stabilize and restore the Delozier Building, it is at risk of a continued deterioration. The Henry County Historical Society is currently spending their limited resources to stabilize what they can, but the total amount of work required will greatly exceed their funding capabilities. After a series of building losses on the Courthouse Square, the Historical Society wants to ensure this iconic building remains a part of the streetscape for generations to come. It is hoped that listing the Delozier Building as a place in peril will raise awareness for their plight, open up new fundraising opportunities beyond their community, and help them find experts who can aid in the stabilization and rehabilitation of this important historic structure in Clinton. When slavery ended after the Civil War, Annabelle Pryor acquired farmland near the Missouri River in Franklin County, where she and her neighbors built a log cabin church in 1865. As flooding was always a concern, the congregants of the African Methodist Episcopal Church purchased a lot in 1892 in a new subdivision of New Haven, overlooking the river and the town below.
And she went on horseback, collecting nickels and dimes from the white people of the community. And then with that money, they bought the lot here for $100. They had a building constructed in 1893 for $110. And in 1905, when Annabelle died, they named it after her.
The church functioned as a vital center of the Black community for 100 years until the 5 remaining elderly congregants made the decision to close its doors in 1995. For the next 25 years, New Haven resident David Smith watched over Annabelle Chapel, paid the insurance and utilities, and mowed the lawn. In 2020, he turned to the New Haven Preservation Society for help.
Over time, the piers on the west side subsided. They went in the ground. The whole structure started to lean this way.
The New Haven Preservation Society arranged for structural assessment of the building, which determined that the chapel needed to be temporarily lifted to allow for foundation repairs and stabilization.
We have put a continuous footing and foundation, concrete foundation underneath the structure. We've got a 4-foot high paved crawl space in which we're going to put the HVAC equipment and ductwork for the structure.
However, the future of Annabelle Chapel is not yet secure, as the structure itself needs extensive work, from lead paint abatement, plaster repair, window restoration, and a set of new doors milled. All of the original furnishings, including the hymnals and altar linens, are in storage and ready to be put into place once the church is ready. The goal is to utilize the Annabelle Chapel as a place for religious and educational gatherings, concerts, and community meetings.
Today, we are trying to save Annabelle Chapel from further deterioration. And the same families who helped to build Annabelle Chapel 130 years ago are still involved. Their descendants have contributed great sums of money for a town the size of ours. So we are hoping that by making the people of the state of Missouri aware of the plight of Annabelle Chapel, that we will be able to restore it and that it will again become important part of our community.
You know, I've been thinking about when history is recorded, how history really condenses time. There are some choices about what to keep and some choices about what doesn't fit in our history. And in this case, saving the Annabelle Chapel is something that the Preservation Society has taken on as important to include in the history of New Haven. It makes me happy and proud to know that, because the whole history of this town that I grew up in is the way I'd like to see it written in the history books.
Hi, everyone. My name is Riley Price, and I'm the Executive Director here at Missouri Preservation. I just wanted to say thank you for tuning in today for our 2024 Places in Peril announcement, and I really hope that these videos encourage you to take action and help some of these endangered historic places around our beautiful state of Missouri. Places in Peril is one of our core programs here at Missouri Preservation, and we could not do this work without the support of our members and our corporate partners, as well as the sponsor of the 2024 Places in Peril list, the North Taylor Fund. If you are not a member of Missouri Preservation, I highly encourage you to join today. Memberships start at as little as $45 a year or $10 a month, and every little bit helps us continue our mission to advocate for, educate about, and assist with the preservation efforts like these Places in Peril across the state of Missouri. More information on these 2024 listings, as well as updates on past listings, can be found by visiting our website, preservemo.org. I hope you'll take some time to explore our interactive Places in Peril map to see the various locations across the state, learn about their current status, and also learn about some of the successes and some of the losses we've had since the inception of the program in 2000. Please share this video, future social media clips, and more information about Places in Peril that we might share so we can spread awareness for these endangered historic places across Missouri. Thanks for watching.